Welcome back to Cryptos Are Us. I am George. We're all George. So tonight is very, very important because I, along with James, we're going to discuss Bitcoin and whether or not we should be bullish or bearish. There's a lot of talk about what's going on with the crypto market and broader market in general. So we're going to talk about whether you should be bullish or bearish. So James from InvestAnswers, I went on his show earlier, I think about a week ago, and I'm going to bring him on. So let me change my view. Hello, James. How are you today?
Very good, George. Good to see you again. I feel like we meet twice a day at this stage.
Yes.
I even know the time zones.
So you're from the West Coast, correct?
No, I'm from Europe, actually, but I've lived in the US since '94. I actually, when I first landed here, I landed in Schaumburg, Illinois, and then spent some time in Evanston, spent some time at Kellogg, and went to some different schools in the US. I have an MBA in finance from Wharton Business School and some other degrees too, and spent a long time bouncing around, but had a fun year last year, and I decided to retire.
Nice.
Then I got bored, and here I am.
I think that's what everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but most people getting in, they're looking for that financial freedom or to retire from their 9-to-5 job, right? And it seems like you have achieved that already.
Yes.
All right. So with that, in case my audience, in case they're curious and they don't know that much about you, and quite honestly, let me bring up your YouTube channel. There you go. Okay, I changed my view here. So can you just give a little background to my audience in terms of, like how you got into crypto, what your specialty is? Do you have, a financial degree, or are you a chartist, or are you a fundamentalist? I mean, if you could just break down like what you're really all about and why you got into this space.
Cool. That's a bit of a loaded one. So my first job out of college was in capital markets. And I was always fascinated by Wall Street and trading. So I got into that space and focused initially on large-scale financial risk management, which was things like currency hedging for large companies, derivatives. So I've got a lot of background in trading financial instruments, options, derivatives, futures. And that was a big part of how I was able to become free and use the tools that was basically my occupation for a long time. I also have technically 2 degrees in finance, a master's from Wharton Business School in finance, and I have a kind of a diploma in risk management, because a big part of my structure is, of course, managing risk, and I think it's probably one of the most important things as well. So I come at this from a very big risk management perspective. I worked for 31 years. I always had a vision of retiring before I hit 50, because my father died of cancer after working his entire life. I said, that's not going to happen to me. So was very focused, very disciplined, very structured. And the rest is history. So here I am, and I was able to find freedom last year. And then I got bored and I started consulting a bit on the side and helping a good colleague out with some videos. And then I was very bullish. Well, I've always been into investing, been trading NASDAQ technology stocks intensively since 1993, 94. And I've been through many, many different cycles, dot-com boom and bust, and the financial crisis, 2008, etc. But it was the year 2017, and I was talking to my brother-in-law, and we were chatting about Bitcoin. I knew about Bitcoin, but I thought it was maybe just a flash in the pan thing. And I started digging into it, and then I started looking at the scarcity. And that fascinated me, because I spent a lot of my life studying macroeconomics, but I never knew the reason why. And then when I started, peeling back.
Until you were introduced to Bitcoin.
Exactly. And then I was like, okay, looking at the governments and money printing and fiat and debasement and all that type of stuff. And then the finite supply of this thing is like, wow. And then read the white paper and said, wow. and then started looking up cryptography, and I was like, oh wow, incredible. And then you see the type of people that were playing with Bitcoin at the time, kind of many people would consider a shady bunch, but I was still fascinated and addicted. And I watched all of the activities, and I watched it go to 20K. I didn't get involved until it went back down. So it was 2018 was the time I got my first Bitcoin, and since then was accumulating gradually. And I was completely obsessed with C19, the pandemic we're not supposed to talk about, so you don't get demonetized. And
and it gets very political, unfortunately. People assign. Let's not go there.
Knowing my background and knowing data and studying all the Johns Hopkins data, I lived in DC for a while, very familiar with that hospital. I was just, in January, February, I was just obsessed. I was warning people, and I said, sometimes I got a crystal ball, I can see future. And I said, this is going to be bad. This is spreading like wildfire. Nobody's ready for this thing. And so I was in a very heavy cash position, and I was waiting. And then the market crashed, and I went in hard. I bought lots of leap options on a whole bunch of stuff that was in the toilet, Google under $1,000. And I had a lot of Tesla anyway, but got more Tesla, bought a ton of Square, all the names I wanted to buy. But now all of a sudden they were in the bargain basement. Like I was buying a Square at $30. I was buying Ethereum at $200, buying Bitcoin at 4,000. And I just literally sold everything I had. You name it. Any type of material asset. I had a yacht, sold it. Rolex watches, sold them. Everything. I just went all in on crypto. So cheers to crypto and C19. So every cloud has a silver lining. I know it's a terrible thing, but it's funny. It was last week, actually, I made a post on Patreon as well, warning people. I said, this is happening again. And here we are. Stock market crashed. So crystal ball still works.
Wow. So very, very interesting background. You mentioned risk management, right? So I have to ask you about that. Like with the risk management background, obviously with financial background and everything else, I mean, what do you view riskier? To buy and hold Bitcoin or to hold cash at this point?
So that's an interesting question that I've been debating a lot. And what I like to do is find uncorrelated assets and move in between them. When one's hot, the other's not, and then trade one off the other. And I've been doing that my entire life. And I see that as well. If you look at, say, the stock market, you've got your move to risk off assets, your dividend paying stocks, etc., your energy utilities. But also I look at disruptive stocks is the other thing I play with. So I kept a lot of big names, but got rid of a lot of big names. The ones that I kind of kept were very, very strong today. We're talking about Illumina, Teladoc, Google took a bit of a hit, but Square was okay, etc. So you see this big move. Shopify, I have a very, very big position in Shopify. That went up 30 points today. And then crypto is a different kettle of fish altogether. It still is somewhat correlated with the stock market, but becoming less so over time. But what I like about equities, it's very easy to manage risk. Crypto, it's harder because of the manipulation.
Yes.
You can determine big picture what's going to happen, say, every 6 to 12 months. But short term, you don't know. For example, China shutting down the miners, China shutting down crypto. People kind of saw that maybe coming, but nobody knew it was going to happen so fast and so quickly,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a surprise. So from that perspective, crypto, I think, has a huge asymmetric upside, which fascinates me. Like, getting into Ethereum at $200 is like, within a year it was
10x.
More. Well, when I went to 4,500,
20x.
Yeah, I was looking at position. I was like, wow, that didn't see that coming. And I still believe we're going to get back there because we'll talk a bit about DeFi as well, hopefully today, and some other items. But they're very different. They're very uncorrelated. But the asymmetric bet of my lifetime, and I've been watching the markets for more than 30 years, is crypto. But you got to pick the right ones. So that's where the risk management comes in, by the way, for crypto. You can manage risk with options on equities, but with crypto. You can too, but the markets aren't quite mature enough yet. And I'm beginning to play with some mini futures on CME, but it's still a little bit Wild West.
Well,
So.
I mean, without risks, right? You're not gonna get that rewards, right? Like you mentioned, the asymmetrical, basically, like the moonshot kind of place that comes with crypto, right? There is volatility. There's going to be risk. There's suppression. There's manipulation. But if you, like you said, I agree. If you pick the right ones, that's where if you hold, and you're going to get rewarded, right? So I'm just curious. You mentioned a lot about equities, and then you were in derivatives, futures, and options. If you had to break down your entire holdings right now, what percentage would be in crypto versus equities or anything else that you may own, like real estate or anything?
It's really funny because did you ever see the Raoul Pal T-shirt that says "irresponsibly long"?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I am irresponsibly long on Bitcoin. So I'm probably 65% equities, 35% crypto, pure crypto. Of that crypto, I am probably 65% Bitcoin, 30% Ethereum, and then 5 or 6% altcoins. But remember, my Bitcoin and Ethereum positions are very large because I got in very early. And I didn't buy my first altcoin. The very first one I bought was actually Cardano back in December of last year. But I'm kind of like a Ethereum Bitcoin maximalist because I saw what happened with the altcoin market in 2017, 2018, and I was naturally gun shy. But then I started looking at the space of DeFi. And then I went all in on DeFi. So I believe I've built a very strong stable of the leading DeFi companies right now. And it was funny because coincidentally today, I think it was Grayscale made a huge announcement.
Oh yeah,
they launched the DeFi
I have
fund.
that. I have that up. You're jumping the gun here, James.
Oh, I am sorry. I didn't mean to.
I'm just kidding.
But that was a big bullish indicator right there.
Yeah, and there's another article I want to bring up too that also relates. But well, thanks for giving your background and just answering some basic questions. Hopefully, people have a good understanding that you've been in space for a while. You definitely know a thing or two about equities, derivatives, maybe a late bloomer for crypto, but you definitely have some good insight into the broader market. So that's why I want to ask you. There's a lot of stuff that I want to ask you today. Let's jump into this one. This article right here presents something that's very bullish and something that's very bearish in a way, short term. I don't mean long-term bearish, but something let me just get into it here. So according to this, all right, according to Glassnode, they identified a bottom at 26,500. And the reason being, they find that 33% of the Bitcoin in active circulation is now currently holding unrealized loss. So there's a lot of people, about 33%, that bought in. They are at an unrealized loss. And you know that if things go down even more, right, these people will probably eventually panic sell. So that's the bearish case, that there is a whole bunch of people that's holding Bitcoin that's in an unrealized loss state. That's the bearish scenario. But then on the flip side, if you look at it, 75% of the circulating supply right now are held by holders. And out of those 75%, 92% are in the profit because they bought very, very early. Okay. So you have a bullish and bearish scenario. That's the topic. Should you be bullish or bearish? So what do you think about these two data points? And overall, are you bullish or bearish on Bitcoin right now?
Well, related to that, I use a slightly different data point than what you're looking at, and it's basically what they call the realized price by cohort, which is similar type of information. But if you look at the whales, they have this realized price by cohort of about 28,300. And this, I believe, is the technical floor, because we could potentially wick down to that level like we did on June 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
But we were only there for 79 minutes, and you remember that time, right? So,
Right.
But it's ironic because when I analyze this price by cohort, trying to figure out why that level, and I think that's because that's where the whales on average right now were the ones that have gotten in recently, not the people who have been there for a long time, but that is kind of their trigger price. So you got to remember as well, like we were adding basically 7 whales a week over the last couple of weeks, and these people all bought in at pretty high amounts. And then you have the new whales, you got the sailors, etc.
Right.
Well, he's not really a whale, but he is actually.
He is a whale. He's just not doing whalish things, I think.
Yeah. So so that's what I find very interesting, and that can be found on the whale map for your viewers if they're looking for that. The other thing that's very interesting to note is the actual ownership. Yeah, there are people that got in late to the party and they're underwater right now. Anybody that bought over the last 12 weeks, and my heart goes out to them. All I can say is stay the course. Don't panic. Don't sell right now, because there is a 95% chance we're going up from here. There's a 5% chance we're going down. And if we go down, it'll be very temporary because it's going to be bought up by the big money.
That's a strong statement right there. 95% chance we're going up from here.
Yeah, there's a 5% chance we go down. If we go down, it'll be short-lived. I mean, it can happen, but it's gonna be temporary. We're not doing a lot of people are saying, oh, we're going to 20,000. You know, the Scott Minards from Guggenheim and some YouTubers, you know, people that were, you know, permabulls have all become now permabear. Maybe they think they get more clicks if they're negative, or fear will drive more viewers. I don't know. I don't care. But every data point I look at, and I did a video last week, I looked at my top 20 Bitcoin indicators, and my mission was to find bearish indicators. I couldn't find one from my top 20, and I went through them all, and I still see that. I mean, it's easy for anybody to do. And the beauty of Bitcoin is it's so transparent. You can see the money flows. You can see the cohorts that are buying. You can see how much they're buying, when they're buying, at what price they're buying. And, you know, the big guys, the 1,000+ guys, they're buying at 35,000, 34,000, 33,000. And they'll continue to buy all the way down. And I think if we do breach that, say, 28 to 30,000 level again, you're going to see the Ray Dalios, the BlackRocks, the Guggenheims, the big money center banks. Everybody's going to grab it because they know that's a good price. And everybody knows the future's bright. It's just we're going through this little turbulent patch that's lasted 8 weeks. But we'll be out of it at some stage.
You know what would be a good segment, just throwing this out of left field, is that one day we should do this again, and I'm just go pretend to be a bear, and then you stay a bull, and let's see how that goes. Because I have a hard time believing that out of all the things that you're looking at, you couldn't find one bearish thing. I think that would be a pretty interesting segment.
Well, the one bearish thing is probably what you touched on. But the problem is when you look at the waterfall of the ownership of the 10,000 plus people, the 1,000 to 10,000, the 100 to 1,000, the only people that are in that range right now are kind of the smaller fish. You know, the 1 to 10 Bitcoin and less than 1 Bitcoin. And the other thing that's really interesting, and Willie Woo pointed this out this morning, he says there's 2 cohorts that are buying right now. It's the 0.1 Bitcoin to 10 Bitcoin, and they've added 40,000 Bitcoin over the last week or two, or 30 days. I can't remember exactly. And then you have the 1,000+ whales buying like crazy. So that's the world we live in today, and I'm very proud of. I think Willie Woo refers to them as plebeians, which is not a very kind word, but the retail investors are now, for the first time ever, not being shaken out. He also mentioned something very interesting. That is, traditionally with bull markets, it's the first trigger points are instigated by the big players. You know, for example, Elon Musk spending $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. And then we could talk about Apple. You know, the rumors are still flying around that they're going to buy $2.5 billion. But the mid to the end of the market is all driven by retail. And you see that if you jumped in an Uber or you're in a Home Depot or a grocery store, everybody's talking about it. And this is what happens. So the latecomers are coming in and buying up a lot. So, and I think as well, the inflation narrative has triggered a lot of it too.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. Let's talk about that in a little bit. But I want to move to this. Okay. Now, just to clarify, I was told Rothschild investment has nothing to do with Rothschild family. Although it's kind of weird that this investment company out of Chicago would get the authorization to use Rothschild in their name. But anyways, there is an investment company called Rothschild Investment. They just boosted their GBTC and ETHE holdings, and these are both trusts from Grayscale. And they have upped quite a bit. So their total GBTC holdings goes up to 4.2 million. But here's what's more interesting, that they actually own more Ethereum trusts at 6.3 million. And, back in, I would say even a year ago, you didn't really hear about companies that hold more ETH than Bitcoin, but we're starting to see more companies do that. And in this case, I know it's trust, but representative of Ethereum and gold and Bitcoin, right? So do you think this is because of the DeFi wave, the DeFi revolution?
Yeah, I think the smart money is, well, first of all, when you talk about Rothschild, I mean, you said $1.6 million or something.
What's that?
You said the total amount was 1.6 million.
Oh, no. GBTC holdings 4.2 million, and then the Ethereum trust ETHE is 6.3 million. So difference of 1.1 million.
Yeah, so that's small potatoes for these big guys. I mean, that's just a flyer. So I wouldn't use that as a kind of a benchmark. If they put 20% of their fund into crypto, then it'd be different. But I think I'm just looking it up here now. Rothschild manage about 1.4 billion. So 6 million and 1.4 billion is nothing. It's a rounding area. So I wouldn't use that as an indicator. But I do, though, however, those people that really understand the financial markets and financial services, and they see DeFi and what it's capable of, and they go in and they play with like a decentralized exchange, or they look at, decentralized borrowing and lending. I mean, when you come from the traditional space like I do, and you see that live, it blows your mind, and you cannot be but really excited or terrified, depending on which seat you're in. Like if I was a Bank of America or Wells Fargo, I would be terrified. And I'd be calling up all my lobbyists and say, we have to stamp this out now. And a lot of the government officials are on the kind of big bank payroll. So I'm just incredibly bullish, but you can't stamp it out. And that's one of the beauties of the true decentralized players. That's why I actually got into a Uniswap position today, because of a couple of reasons. It was very cheap.
Right.
And the Grayscale announcement, and the fact that it's one of my favorite plays in that space.
Well, that brings me to Grayscale. You just talked about it.
Cheers again, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, cheers. I'm drinking Coors Organic Light Beer, in case anyone's wondering today. Saving the black label. You're drinking Guinness.
And it has to be black, so it's the only black thing I could find.
So yeah, speaking of Grayscale, they launched their new DeFi fund, which offers 15 crypto products. And you mentioned about picking up Uniswap. Uniswap makes up almost 50% of this fund. Then you have Aave, Compound. These are two big lending players. You have Curve, which is into stable coins, like a deck for stable coins. And you got MakerDAO, which is also another lender. You have another AMM, SushiSwap, Synthetic, which is tokenization, Yearn, which is kind of all over the place, UMA, tokenization, and Bancor, which is a DEX. So out of this list, you mentioned you like Uniswap a lot. Do you like anything else on this list?
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about that today. So first of all, I was in Uniswap already, and I got in before twice, but I tripled down today. So tripled down, and my average price was $15, and I bought it, I think, $15.61 today. And I need to check where it is at now. But if I was building a DeFi portfolio, it would not look like that at all.
Yeah, it's 15.36. So basically what you want it at right now.
Yeah, so it's down a little bit. And we're going to see some weakness over the night, but hopefully tomorrow things will rebound. But I would definitely, I would be in things like they do have, I think, ETHE in there.
Yep.
I'd have some Solana, some Polkadot, some Algorand at the very least, maybe some Avalanche. They'd kind of be kind of the players. There was one there that I was surprised by. That was the BNT. I think there must be a fly, but maybe
Yeah,
and they know maybe they know something that I don't.
Well, see, the thing is interesting. You mentioned like Solana, Algorand. I mean, those are, I think most people would consider them more like a protocol that supports DeFi.
Yep.
These are specifically like either you're a AMM, a DEX, a lending platform. These are like very specific apps. So that's probably why you don't see those on here.
Exactly. And I also prefer to be on the protocol side of things like Chainlink as well.
Yeah. I mean, we were, on your show, we kind of looked at our portfolios, right? And unfortunately, I don't have mine up today, but I mean, we were very similar in picking the protocols, right? Because they're like the foundation for all these DeFi projects to live on top of, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The potential is huge. Okay. So since you have such a strong background with equities and derivatives, I don't want to go too much off of crypto, but in terms of what we saw today with the Dow being down negative 700 points, a lot of fears about C19 and Delta. But overall, do you think this is just going to pass? Overall, do you think there is like a correction that is due for the stock market, or do you think this is temporary and we're just going to keep going?
Yeah, so I started shorting positions and moving to cash over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Every single trade I do, I publish. Every single thing I publish. So people who know me know exactly what I was doing. The fact that it happened so fast took me by surprise. I have been tracking the Delta variant for quite a while. And I know that the Delta variant has completely hammered countries like India in a bad way, and many other places. But I'm very concerned about the Lambda variant in Peru that's now ripping through Central America. So if you look at the Delta, it's kind of somewhat impervious to vaccines. So if you're vaccinated, you can still get it, but the transmissibility is incredibly high. They say the Lambda variant transmissibility is like the measles. So if somebody walks into a room and breathes out, that's it. The whole room is done for. I don't know exactly how true this is, but everything I've read indicates that. They haven't actually been able to test how the efficacy of the vaccines are against it, but that was enough to scare me. Between Delta and Lambda, I was like, okay, this is going to get worse before it gets better.
So do you think that's going to be a catalyst to drive things lower?
Well, two things. I was bearish anyway, because you see things like Apple hitting 150. I sold it exactly at 150 because I said, okay, it's gone from 115 to 150 in no time. And the market cap was huge. I mean, Apple just can't grow that fast, especially with the semiconductor supply shock. I just knew something was going to give. I wasn't sure when. And also historically, August is a weak month because everybody's on vacation. There's low volume. And from crypto, when there's low volume, prices go down. So it was just a confluence of macro stuff and data points that I saw that just had the writing on the wall. And then I've also been tracking what's happening in places like South Korea, Thailand, Peru, Malaysia, Vietnam. It's just really, really bad stuff. Africa, India, it's completely torn apart. And you think we are now, I think it's 80 weeks in to C19. And we're still here, it's sad.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to move my conference to next year because I thought by October, things would settle down, but it doesn't seem so. But I did want to ask you, because I've watched a few of your streams. You mentioned about price suppression, and I do agree with you on that. Do you think it's the same thing with equities? Because I pull up Coinbase, okay? And you look at Coinbase, MicroStrategy, Riot, Mara, any public trade company that has anything to do with Bitcoin is just going down and down and down. It's like they don't recover with the rest of tech. They don't recover when NASDAQ go up. So do you think there is price suppression even on equities for companies that's involved with Bitcoin?
I don't think so. Maybe a little bit with Coinbase. You got to understand, though, you got to look at who owns the majority of the shares of Coinbase right now. And they're big investors, hedge funds, mutual funds, stuff like that.
Like ARK does. ARK owns a lot of Coinbase.
Yeah, they keep on buying every dip. Yeah. Kathy's going in there hard, and she knows her stuff. So I was buying Coinbase under 250. I was thinking about getting a little bit more today because I do believe their earnings will be great when they come out. But you got to remember as well, the price of Coinbase is tied directly almost to the price of Bitcoin because they get 4% on trades from people who don't have Coinbase Pro. Everybody get Coinbase Pro; it's much better.
Yeah, but I kind of disagree with that. I mean, yes, they're based on percentage, right? But these exchanges, they make money no matter what. If Bitcoin goes down, people are panic selling. They're collecting their commission. Things go up, people are FOMOing. They collect their commission. Maybe the volume is down a little bit, but it's like non-stop money making machine for them.
Well, the Coinbase guys are very smart and they're trying to diversify their revenue streams. The majority of it now is from trading, but that 4% is just stupid and it's not sustainable. They know they're going to have to generate other revenue streams. They make a lot of money from OTC trading, helping enterprises get in.
Yeah.
But if you look at, what Jack Mallers doing with Strike, he's gunning for Coinbase and all these other exchanges. And we'll see what happens. But it basically... I think Coinbase could be a buy until January 2022, and then it's time to get out because they're going to be eaten alive. Once your average user starts getting comfortable with decentralized exchanges, Coinbase is dead. It's absolutely dead unless they have other revenue streams.
You think it's going to come that quick, though? By January, you think most people are going to transition from centralized exchanges to decentralized
it's so easy.
exchanges?
I mean, it's staggeringly easy. For example, one of the things I was thinking about doing is teaching people how to use MetaMask and move Ethereum to MetaMask, and then learning about pair swapping and stuff like that. Once you do it once, it's like riding a bicycle, and then you think you'll never go back to the old world. And I think that's what's fascinating.
I think things have gotten much easier now. Even like Uniswap, for example, you could download the Trust Wallet and download the Uniswap app in there, and then you can just trade on Uniswap very, very easily without even using MetaMask. But of course, you could use MetaMask on the homepage. But you got to think about the millions and millions of users that's coming in. That is still beyond their technical capability. That's why people jump into Robinhood so much when things are pumping, because they just want to buy right now. Like right now, take my money. I want to buy. I don't care about anything else. So I think Texas will stay and grow, but I don't think centralized exchanges like Coinbase is going to go away anytime soon.
Well, it's not going to go away, but the valuation will come down because they're overvalued. They're valued based on earnings today. Right. All I'm saying is that earnings that they get from exchange trading is not sustainable, and that's going to disappear over time. Anyway, we'll see where we are.
So we'll see. I mean, that's not too far off. All right. Let's talk about this. The B word. Are you familiar with this event that's coming in 2 days?
Am I familiar? I am registered. I'm gonna be there. So this is super exciting to me. Obviously, I'm a big. There might be a lot of Elon Musk haters out there. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
I bought a Tesla X 3 years ago, and a week later, I bought a whole bunch of call options on Tesla. I was just so blown away by the car. I have the FSD. I might do a video on that too. So I'm a huge Tesla bull. At the same time, I really am a big believer in what they call Bitcoin God now, Jack Dorsey from Square and Twitter. I'm also a big Square bull too. So getting back to your question, which I didn't fully answer regarding equities and crypto, I'm like 2/3 equities, 1/3 crypto, but half of my equity portfolio, maybe more, are crypto proxies. Huge MicroStrategy positions, Square positions, PayPal positions, etc. So just want to reminding myself of that right now. But this conference will be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping they really nail Elon Musk about Bitcoin mining and the stats that the Bitcoin Mining Council now have, where they've convinced They have all the data points globally to
Mhm.
prove that Bitcoin mining is at least 56% renewable power in Q2 of this year. Because the tipping point for Elon Musk is 50%. So
Right.
I'm hoping during that debate with Jack, and Jack's going to be very well prepared, that they'll get him over the hump. That'll change the game.
You know, that's what I theorized this morning, that I don't think it's a coincidence that's the timing of this is all coming right before Tesla earnings next week. But you know, they obviously, Jack kind of baited Elon into this because Elon was kind of trolling him on Twitter and he got him into it. But Cathie Wood, of course, ARK Invest, big Square investor, big Tesla investor. So I think all three, and I think it was confirmed this morning that on Twitter that all three is going to have like a live conference and talk about Bitcoin mining. Basically, like what you said, they're going to discuss renewable energies. It's already been proven that 56% is sustainable and using renewable energy, probably more so now since all these miners got pushed out of China. So I think he's going to announce that he's going to reopen Bitcoin payments for Teslas. And I think that could be a catalyst to drive things higher when he declares that, and definitely helps if Bitcoin goes up. It definitely helps his quarterly too with Tesla next week. So
yeah, and coincidentally, Cathie Wood put $60 million more into Square on Friday. Coincidence?
Yeah.
But everything's related. I must say I'm very happy though with the work that Jack is doing on the amount of support he gives to the Bitcoin platform for developers. And also, now that they've got the Taproot smart contract capability, at least the hooks, to start doing more DeFi and smart contracts in Bitcoin, that's going to be super exciting. That's where he wants to go,
right,
with the platform. And you know, between that and what Strike is doing, I mean, I think the future is good. I know there's some people. Somebody just said in a comment there that we're here to pump Bitcoin. I don't pump anything. I just say things like I see it. So make sure I can correct your audience member in the comment there.
Don't worry about them. No, you know, they know. They watch me because they know I'm overall long and bullish, right? I always try to present bullish cases in terms of keeping people focused and helping them, you know, stay the course and invest for the future. And I think this could be that event, because we know Bitcoin has been so stagnant for so long, right? And I think we just need some kind of catalyst, and this could be it. But real quick, based on what you said, right, with Taproot, DeFi coming on top of Bitcoin, you have a lot of Bitcoin maximists that refuse to look at anything else but DeFi. And Jack is kind of one of those guys, yet he's utilizing Ethereum to create Twitter NFTs and so forth. But he you know, stays the course, says it's Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. He has a team that's working on, a new wallet, a hardware wallet, I believe, and also working on Taproot and other things. Do you think DeFi will be better served on Bitcoin's network, or you just let the market dictate who's better, whether it's running Ethereum or Bitcoin?
Well, what I'm concerned about, and that's why I'm so happy people like Jack Dorsey exist and people like Jack Mallers. What's this with all the Jacks? But the fact that we do need more layer 2 solutions to speed up Bitcoin. And the developers, I just saw the recent roadmap, have already put a lot of groundwork in place to do that and really make it scale. Because as soon as you start adding more sovereign countries for what they needed to do, the acceleration needs to happen. And that's what these guys are focusing on. And Jack Dorsey said in Miami very clearly, he said, you know, if it wasn't for Bitcoin, he wouldn't be working right now. But he's doing this to make the world a better place. That's his mission. That's his entire mission. He doesn't care about money. He wears ratty t-shirts and woolly hats. You know, he's one of these, he reminds me a little bit of Steve Jobs, but even cooler.
Well, I don't know. I think if he, like, you know, dressed a little better, in my opinion. I think that would help his image.
It's very San Francisco. Trust
he's
me.
like a total surfer guy with a big beard, and it doesn't look like a CEO of two tech companies, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But obviously a very brilliant guy. I think once upon a time people called him, the next Steve Jobs, like you said. So not easy running two companies, and Elon is also running two companies too.
Yeah.
All right. So next thing I want to ask about, this is just for fun. Okay. Just for fun. Are you a flat earther? Do you believe in flat earth?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, good. What do you think about billionaires now? Every single one trying to get into space. What do you think about it?
I think it's completely stupid. I think the only reason to go into space is to protect yourself from an enemy or to mine minerals, like deuterium
gold from asteroids.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine what that would do to the gold price. That flipping would happen real fast. And there's apparently one floating out there that has $1 quadrillion worth of gold on it.
Yes.
And there's people trying to figure out how they can land on that freaking asteroid and grab it. But then how do they carry it back? Because it's so heavy, and weight is a big issue in space. Like every piece of paper is an issue. So I think it's an ego thing. There was a survey for Jeff Bezos going to space. Who wants him not to come back? I think the result was 90% of people said go there and stay. But I do think the work that Elon Musk is doing at SpaceX and his low orbit internet satellite program and everything else is just amazing. So the fact that he on a shoestring budget could do more than NASA could in a very short window of time is mind blowing. So
I really wish that he didn't do all the trolling that he did on Twitter.
Well, he has Asperger's, which he openly admitted on that TV show.
Right.
Which is very brave to do that, by the way. But it's also a bit of an excuse. Now he thinks he can get away with murder by saying, oh, it's Asperger's. It's not me.
Exactly.
However, he's wicked smart. He was in court last week. There was some pension fund was going after him for buying Solar City. And he schooled the opposing attorney brilliantly. So there's nothing wrong with Elon Musk's mind at all. Yeah. When he can turn around, he does. He just likes to play. He gets bored, gets a little ADD, and likes to have fun. He's a jokester.
I think that's the best way to look at his tweets, because now I've realized that if he tries to troll Jack or even Michael Saylor, they would take it as a joke and respond in a joking manner. They're not so serious anymore when they see Elon replies. And it actually works out better. That's how Jack actually enticed Elon to come into the B word in the first place, because he tweeted something about buy curious or something like that. And I think you're right, but unfortunately most people in crypto just does not trust Elon. And for me, I've been calling him Elon for like a-hole plus Elon. So maybe it's time to stop doing that.
Well, I've got faith in mankind. I think his mission is very admirable. I think he's the genius of our time beyond all shadow of a doubt. He's a little bit eccentric though, but all geniuses are. So you have to cut him some slack. Let's get through Wednesday and see what he says.
Yes.
And then we'll decide if we kick him out of the Bitcoin world or not.
So when Christian sent a big super chat, have either one of you guys heard about Elon Musk in communication with the CCP about censorship and Tesla? Did you hear anything about that?
No, I know a little bit about that because I'm a big Tesla investor. So I like to track exactly what's going on in China. And I am worried about their gigafactory in Shanghai. There was a lot of stuff that he has to do with the CCP to make sure that he behaves. They had to change and modify cars, so cameras couldn't be in the Chinese vehicles because it's considered spying on the population, especially if a military person is driving the car.
Right.
But China is the biggest spy on the population. That's the whole irony of it all. Their digital yuan, basically, there was a report today that 3 lawyers in the Senate are trying to make sure that American athletes that go to the Olympics next year
Mm-hmm.
don't use WeChat or the digital one or anything like that, because they know that China spies on their people and they don't want their athletes to be spied upon.
Yeah, but don't you think that I'm not okay? I'm not trying to get into a big social political thing, but
Either am I. I'm just pointing out facts.
Yeah, but you hear about governments spying on their citizens all the time. It happens everywhere. So I don't know. It just seems like it seems like it's everywhere, and then sometimes we hear rumbling about it, and then like after a period of time we just forget. But I mean, if you just think about just tech companies in general, how much data Facebook and Google and everyone else collects about what we do, right?
Palantir. I'm an investor in Palantir and Google.
Yeah,
I mean, they have everything.
They have everything. That's their whole business model, right? And it's just, yeah. Anyways, that went off on a tangent.
Yeah. Thank you, Christian, for the question. Interesting question. Yeah, so I think what Elon Musk needs to do is protect his asset in China. Right. So he needs to do whatever the CCP wants, and there is a lot. He is in at the tightest, most senior level of the government of China right now. Elon Musk is, and I know the end game for China too, but that's a separate conversation.
I mean, it's really amazing that he's even allowed to operate there. China they cater to their own, right? They shut out all Western companies, and China is building EV cars left and right. So the fact that he was able to negotiate that gigafactory in Shanghai and still produce Model 3s and Ys there it's already amazing. But I don't know about the little details, things that he has to like sacrifice and make to make that happen.
Yeah. By the way, it's a very interesting question just came in from Fade Master. I opened up the chat right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what's your opinion about the virus that mutates and how do you think it'll impact Bitcoin's price actions? I'll give it to you first and then I'll take it after.
I don't know. That's a slippery slope. Okay, so I don't really want to go too much into that. It's going to cause some people to really not like it. Some people that, again, anything about Delta, COVID, pandemic, mask wearing, it's gotten so political that I really don't want to talk about it because you'll be labeled a leftist, a rightist, or a communist, or whatever.
Yeah. But we're not talking about vaccines, but I will tell you, I do have a theory though. There's going to come a time when uncorrelated assets like Bitcoin will become a flight to safety. So when there's any type of uncertainty in the stock market, no matter what it is, people are going to take their money and sell their Apple shares or their Amazon shares or whatever it is, their GE or their bonds, and they're going to put it somewhere safe. And guess what I think the safest asset to put your money in is right now? Bitcoin, beyond all shadow of a doubt. Next 10 years, safest place to park your money.
Do you think that because of inflation? Is that the reason? Every
reason under the sun. You've got inflation. We got what was that noise? We got 1.5% global adoption. The sprinklers just went on upstairs outside, so I don't know if you can hear that, and a whole bunch of other matters. But the scarce supply. So much is kind of being built right now. I mean, the sky is the limit. I could talk for half an hour as to why that is, but I think it is a very, very safe place to go right now. And there'll come a time where it'll be the reserve asset that people will park in. So.
Have you seen this before? USDstat.com.
Oh, 3 sats. Hang on. Oh, 3,273 sats.
Yes. So right now, $1 could buy you 3,273 sats. But 10 years ago, it could have bought you 7,300,000 sats. So this shows you how much Bitcoin inflated, I guess, versus the dollar, and how much the dollar devalued itself against Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, the truth of the matter is the US dollar is already hyperinflating against Bitcoin. And that's what people need to wrap their heads around. And I said to somebody, in the year 2030, you're going to be able to buy a coffee for 10 sats. They thought I was crazy. But when you do the math, you can make it work.
Right.
So.
John asks, is it true that KISS is starting their own cryptocurrency? Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley are a lot of things, but they are known for making money. Have you heard that?
I don't even know what KISS is. So
the band? No?
I don't.
No.
Not my type of music.
Okay, so
It was an interesting one. What do you think of this? Yesterday, somebody bought 500 contracts at a $22,000 put option expiring December 31st on Bitcoin.
what was it at? 500,000?
500 contracts
Uh-huh.
of the $22,000 put options expiring December 31st. Like this stuff happens all the time, but sometimes the media makes a big deal of it. Like people were doing that with Ethereum both ways a week or two ago.
So I'm not familiar with selling puts. Does that mean that they're thinking that Bitcoin will not go
They bought
22?
They bought the put, so they're placing the bet that Bitcoin's going to hit 22,000 before Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, it goes in line with what a lot of people have been saying, right? That Bitcoin could fall down to 20,000. But to do it in December, I just that's just too risky.
Well, see, the thing is, what people don't understand is when they buy these puts, they can sell them at any time again. So imagine there's a wick down to 28,000, they can exit that position real fast at a very tidy profit. So it just means the pricing of the put needs to go up by 10 or 15%, and they can still make a lot of money. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to wait till December 31st to exercise the $22,000 strike.
Yeah, so, but it's also, like you said, very, very risky to do it right now. If there's no down wick, like you said, right, this is the bottom, and we do go up from here. I mean, they're going to get slaughtered, right, with that put option.
Well, it looks like as we were talking, Bitcoin is now $300 away from 30,000. So that down wick could be happening. And Ethereum is at 1764. So that's just fallen out of bed as well.
Yeah. So Ethereum took a big dump, big dump here. Let's do. So at the beginning, we talked about where Bitcoin, you made a statement that you think 95% would go up, 5% would go down. The 5% that we go down, do you think that we have that down wick back to this 28.8 mark? Is that what you're thinking?
28,000. Yeah, I think, if it wicks down there, like we've had tremendous support at this 30,000 level for the longest time, and a huge, very, very little volatility. It's just been so stable, like plus 3%, minus 3%, plus 3% for so many days. I have never seen it so quiet. And I looked at historical volatility numbers, and it was extremely unvolatile. The Dow Jones is more volatile now than Bitcoin.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective. Now here we're down 1.5%, and it looks terrible. It's getting close to that psychological 30,000 mark. It'll be very interesting to see what happens if the buyers do walk in at that time to buy. I become a buyer of Bitcoin. Last time I bought Bitcoin was, I think it was $28,000 and change. I'll tell you the exact price. And I plan on jumping in again if it does hit that. So we'll see. We'll just monitor it carefully. But I don't want people to be shaken out or concerned. Even if it does go down to 25,000, it'll be very short-lived. Because I just know the buyers are there. And I saw them last time on the 22nd of June. It was like 79 minutes is how long we were under 30,000. Just zip, straight back up.
Yeah, and 79 minutes. Yeah, Darth Flyer just super chatted. BTC 28.8, 79 minutes, 22K less than half hour stay. What? He's saying...
he's saying if it does go to 22,000, it'll be for less than 30 minutes. Maybe.
Minutes.
So this is what I'm doing. So I just moved a lot of money to Coinbase and FTX today to be in a position, and I've got my limit order set. So I'll be grabbing it all the way down if that does happen, and so will others. So it'll be fun to watch, and it gives those that haven't had a chance to fill their bags another bite at the apple, which is very exciting.
So what do you say to newcomers that's watching this right now, and they're hearing this and they're freaking out? They're like, "Oh my God, Bitcoin's gonna fall to 28, possibly 22."
Yeah. Well, first of all,
what do you say to them that convinces them, hey, they should actually buy if that happens rather than sell?
Well, I had a conversation with some person today, and they were concerned because it's actually my friend and his wife says, they got in at 16,000, 18,000, and she's worried. Are we still making money every day? Are we still making money? Are we still making? So she basically made him promise if it does fall to that price, that's when they sell. So this is the strange mentality of people. It's like, okay, you bought an asset for 16 or 18,000. It went to 64,000. Were you thinking about selling then? No. Now it's coming back, and now they're thinking about selling. It's like, all I can say to people is just look at the macro picture, think of the future. And if you can't take the emotional roller coaster that is Bitcoin or crypto or even the stock market, you shouldn't be in the game. But if you do have a piece, turn off your computer, don't look at quotes, come back in 5 years. And you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised. That's the message I would give people, you know. And if you do have some dry powder, and it does go to 28K or 25K, grab some. I mean, there's a 5% chance that could happen. And you know that, but if it does happen,
right,
it's going to be very short lived.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
What do you think?
What? Go ahead.
Are you on the same page?
I am on the same page. I've lived through a couple of these cycles, and the very first one I screwed up badly. You know, just like everyone else, I got fearful, sold out when things got low, and that was when Bitcoin first hit 1,200, went down to 160 something. Right, I didn't get back in until early 2017 when Bitcoin's about $1,000. That's when I bought back in, but I could have 10x my money had I just held or bought at $164. But I have similar stories from family members and friends. Here's one: like, there's a close family friend. He got in Bitcoin, 2017, around 10,000, 15,000, somewhere between there. Right. And then when Bitcoin went down all the way down to 3,100 and then climbed back up to 14,000, went back to 3,800. He did not buy at all. He didn't DCA it at all. And his wife told him that, hey, when we get back to our original price, we're going to sell it. And I think it was maybe around 15,000. So when Bitcoin came back up, they sold. And ever since then, he's regretted it. So it's just a patience game. Exactly. I think when it comes to Bitcoin, it's just having patience.
Yeah.
The longer you hold, the better it is. This is really it.
The other thing you can tell people is do what the smart people do, not what they say.
Yes.
And this is so transparent. You can watch just, Ray Dalio, classic case in point. 20% of your investable assets should be in Bitcoin. This is the asymmetric bet of our lifetime. And that's it. And he's the best hedge fund manager in the history of the world. Are you going to argue with Ray Dalio? So that's kind of another debating point that you could have with anybody that's against it. So it's a shame that people are shaken out. I know a lot of people that couldn't take it anymore. They got in at 56K and they saw it going all the way down and they just got out at 32K. They said the pain is too much.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, some people are just not. They didn't know what they signed up for. They got in very high at peak, and now, more than half down. It's just some people just can't handle it, right? But that's why we do what we do. We try to calm people down. We educate, make them focus on the long term, the future.
Yeah.
All right, last few questions, and then I'm going to end it. Cool. Jesus says USAA insurance company just finished a test net running blockchain between them and some finance companies. Word is they were blown away by the incredible results. Okay, though we don't know which blockchain, but if it was their own, okay. Someone, Dave says James is awesome, like your channel too. So he's probably from your channel. Joe asks, what traditional finance models can best apply to crypto? Also, best buy now, ETHE, ETH, Uni, or Solana. So what traditional financial models, I think that's a question for you, would you say best applies to crypto?
Yeah, so I do a lot of what I call should I buy token analysis. And for each individual token, I build bespoke price prediction models based on the value of their business. And what I do is I compare it to traditional, call it brick and mortar real world businesses. VeChain is a classic example. I look at the supply chain management companies like SAP and Oracle. I look at their business, their profitability, their margins, their growth rates, the total addressable market. look at the share that VeChain can take and what they charge, etc. And that's how I build it up. But I focus very heavily on the tokenomics, which is critical. How much token supply there is, when it's being released, who owns it, how much is locked up, how much is vesting, because people don't focus enough on that. And that's really, really important.
Interesting. All right. Well, last super chat, great show, guys, from Cal. I think you responded to him. So I think that's it. I mean, this was a really good chat. I really enjoyed this, James. I hope we can do this again in the future.
Yeah, let's do that debate. You're bear, I'm bull. Let's convince each other.
I don't know. I really want to do that, but it might turn some people off because then they think I turned bearish or something.
Yeah. And every just hang tight. If you have any, not investment advice, but it's going to be a bumpy night tonight, I forecast. There's going to be some extreme volatility, and I'm probably not going to sleep, but I'm going to have my finger on the trigger.
Wow.
So it'll be fun.
I am going to sleep, but I'll make sure I try to set some buy orders just in case. So thanks for coming on the show, James.
Thank you, George. My pleasure.
If you like what you heard, you like James, you like his thoughts, make sure you subscribe to his channel, InvestAnswers, and the link is in the description of this video. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, James. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and tune in tomorrow. And we'll see what happens tonight. But tune in tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Bye.